Hello and welcome to the Football Talk podcast. My name is Ozzie and I'm the host for today's show. Last week, if you watched the show, you would probably notice that I was quite deflated with the draw. As for a big team like Liverpool, a draw is regarded as a loss. And today we actually lost, and I'm absolutely deflated again, but embarrassed in terms of how we performed. And that's me being brutally honest. Did not expect Liverpool to play the way they did. I think we showed no fight, no desire, no intensity whatsoever. And I was really hoping that in this game, especially in the opening 20 minutes, for Liverpool to be aggressive in their play and try and get that opening goal to kind of keep the crowd quiet and put Manchester United on the back foot. It was the complete opposite. Manchester United were the team that were aggressive, that were tenacious, and probably played their best performance for a very, very long time. But let's go through the match in general. So the starting lineup, a big sort of, I would say not a shock, but some people may have been surprised regarding the selection or should I say, the absence of Maguire and Cristiano Ronaldo in the starting lineup. For me, it wasn't a huge surprise. I think Maguire has been a bit hit and miss, to say the least. And Ronaldo still isn't quite up to that full fitness. So in this game, Ten Hag went for youth, where he played Elanga, Rashford up front, and Sancho on the right. And it pretty much paid off, to be fair. Like I said, Liverpool started off really, really slow, really disappointing. Rashford was actually very close to scoring the opening goal before he actually did. Through on goal, left-hand side of the box, and Van Dijk made the block. For me, it was a bit of deja vu because that's exactly the same position that Zaha took up in the Palace game, and Van Dijk wasn't quick to react. So I guess he's learned his lesson in that regards, but it's a standard block. That's what you should be doing as a centre-back anyway. And regarding Van Dijk, I've been very disappointed in terms of how he started. For me, he looks off the pace. I don't know. It just doesn't seem quite right. He's not reading the game as he normally does. Very slow to react. And it seems very, very unlike him. So, yeah, it's a real shame in terms of how he's performing. But United did eventually open the score sheet. Elanga, who was a constant threat pretty much all game, and gave Trent Alexander a torrid time. I know that is the area that every team looks for in terms of invading our defense. But Trent, do you feel our backline has been awful, but Trent has been very below par, and this game was no different. Elanga was able to set up Sancho, who shows great calmness and composure in front of goal. As you see, James Milner making a last-ditch sliding block tackle, however you want to phrase it, but he calmly slots it in the corner. So great start for Manchester United at that point, and I think it was fully deserved, that goal. You see Milner and Van Dijk going back and forth after the goal, and yeah, definitely unrest in the squad. For me, it's quite disappointing that we don't have a lot of numbers in midfield. I know we have a huge injury crisis right now in terms of the first team squad. I think we've got 9-10 players unavailable. When James Milner signed his contract in the summer, I don't think he was expected to play a lot of games. He's supposed to be more of a big part player, sort of like a vocal leader in the changing room. And he's played 3 games in a row. He hasn't started all the games, but he's taken part more than he should have. And that puts Klopp under a lot of pressure because we're in desperate need of a midfielder. But it looks like either Klopp, FSG, I don't really know who to kind of point a finger at, but they're clearly holding off to get the one, which is Jude Bellingham. It's not a hidden secret there, but we have to wait until next year to get him. So, yeah, a lot of work to do. We need a signing, but I'll probably elaborate on that a bit more later in the show. But Liverpool, after that goal, you would expect a reaction where you're disappointed to concede that goal. So let's try and put it right and try and go for attack. They looked really shaky afterwards, losing possession so easily. And the defense looked really nervous to play the ball forward. They were just resorting to side passes. And even at that, they didn't look confident on the ball. So you could feel the pressure building up with their play. Ericsson was actually very close to scoring as well with a free kick. I genuinely thought that hit the top corner. But in the end, great save by Alisson. In the first half, from a Liverpool perspective, I think the only players that stood out for me were Luis Diaz and Elliot. They did have a moment where they had a 1-2 on the edge of the box, but they were unable. Luis Diaz was unable to generate much power. Pretty much did like a lofted shot that went wide. Liverpool did improve slightly heading towards the half time, but yeah, it wasn't great. Henderson playing a number 6 role. For me, that's the role he should be playing whenever he's in the team, but I think he was below par today as well. He had a moment where he pressed the ball and managed to give it to Firmino, and Firmino, who went for an audacious lofted pass where he should have just kept it simple, played it on the ground, and just gave the ball away. And we lost that momentum to even have a shot on target. Firmino, for me, as much as I love him, and if you watch my episodes or if you followed my sort of podcast journey, you know how much of a big fan I am of Firmino. But I just don't think he's that same player anymore. And it hurts to say that because he wasn't the quickest of players, but he seems to have lost that sharpness in his play, and he's ineffective. I think in this formation that we're playing, false nine, however you want to phrase it, but he's dropping too deep. At one point, I didn't even think he was a false nine. I thought he was a false 6. He was just playing in very, very deep positions where he shouldn't be there. So if he's dropping that deep, there's no focal point up top. So I feel like with the loss, with Nunes being suspended, we should have had another attacker to be ready to come on, I guess. But obviously Jota is that person, and he's unavailable as well. So yeah, not the best of games for Mina, to say the least. Liverpool were close to getting an equaliser through a moment of confusion as the ball was rebounding off a couple of United defenders on the line, but they managed to clear the ball. So first half, they go 1-0 up, and for me, it was deserved. I think they were fantastic in the first half. Pretty much blew Liverpool away. I don't think Liverpool knew what hit them, to be honest with you. Second half, great goal by Rashford, I'll be honest. I did think he was offside when it initially happened. I still question it a little bit, but given the benefit of the doubt, it was a good goal to open the scoreline. Question for United fans: are you happy to see Rashford leading the line as a number 9? Because that's always been the question for Rashford ever since he's broken into the team. So I know in his reserve days he used to play as a number 9, but when he broke into the team, he played on the left and the right as well. Is that the role that suits him best? Because I thought he was quite effective today. But having said that, the thing with Rashford is that he's been low in confidence over the course of last season, I would say. So he's that sort of player. He relies on confidence, rhythm, like a lot of strikers do, to be fair. But is he the right quality to have up top? I know you guys have signed Casemiro, and it's a great signing, in my opinion. But to sort of get another attacker of that league, or however you want to phrase it, will be difficult to attract that type of player right now. But let me know what you guys think in terms of should he lead the line for Manchester United going forward. Back to the game. Liverpool had their moments. They weren't big moments, in my opinion. Pretty much had a lot of the possession in the second half. Elliot had a shot with his right foot, hit the side netting, but they were still off the pace. They were just losing battles. They weren't getting the aerial challenges, second to every ball. They were just off it from the get-go. Fabinho came on, had the chance on goal with a tame back post header, saved that by De Gea. Pretty much routine there. Bruno Fernandes, who I thought had a decent first half, showed his petulant side again in the second half, diving around, got a yellow card for it, embarrassing. Um, yeah, pissed me off a little bit with his antics as Mo Salah scored later on as well. Just a scumbag. I don't like the guy at all. That's I'm sure a lot of Liverpool fans will agree with me there. Rashford did have moments as well. He had a moment where he passed through three Liverpool players, which was ridiculous. I don't know what the hell the players were doing at that time. Smashed it over the bar. So yeah, not much sort of like efforts for me in terms of Liverpool's attack. I looked at the stats afterwards. Apparently, we had 17 shots, 5 were on target, more than United. United had 12 and 4 on target. Yeah, stats only say one thing. If you watched it, if you used the eye test, you know Liverpool were below par. The consolation goal was actually a good goal. It was from a corner. Fabio Carvalho, who came on as a sub, and produced a nice shot, saved by De Gea, and Salah was able to get the rebound, head it onto the post and in. So good goal from Salah, especially if he's in your FPL team. I'm sure it'll be very helpful going and getting some points in your tally. But yeah, like I was saying about Bruno Fernandes, for me, he should have been booked. He was already yellow carded before that. And he literally held that ball for like a minute or two. Like it was just like, come on, just give the ball now. And the referee didn't do anything. So fair play to Salah. I think it might have been Diaz as well for not losing their composure. Because if I was a professional, if I was in that situation, I would have given him one thump in the head. So fair play to those guys. You know, they didn't do a Nunes on him in that regards. But that consolation goal for me, too little, too late. It is what it is. But overall, a fantastic win for Manchester United. They played with great intensity, and I'm sure that will please a lot of the United fans. But let's try and come back to reality. It's only one good performance. The key will be to produce these kind of performances week in, week out. I think Ten Hag got his tactics right in terms of who he deployed, but not to take the shine off your win or whatnot. But from a Liverpool point, that was the worst we've played in a very long time. It's the best you've played for a long time. It's the worst we've played for a very long time. So, great win. Don't get me wrong. Not taking anything from the team, but we were so rubbish. I was close to cancelling and not doing the match reaction show. That's how disappointed I was with my team. But nevertheless, in terms of Manchester United, for me, the standout players today were Malacia, who I mentioned previously in my other episodes, a player that I saw a few times in the Europa League last season for Feyenoord. Very, very good defender, tenacious, works hard, very good one-on-one, and I think that was evident in this game. So for me, he deserves a round of applause. I think he probably man of the match, in my opinion, for United. Martinez had a solid performance, surprising, with all the not abuse, but all the sort of banter around his height and all that sort of stuff. He showed a decent performance. Definitely made a couple of challenges, aggressive in his play, and looked comfortable alongside Varane. So maybe that's the pairing going forward for Manchester United. Alanga for me was a positive spark in that United team, bombing down that left-hand side, continuously troubling Trent Alexander all day. And yeah, Trent Alexander couldn't really do much to stop him playing. So had a very, very positive performance. And Rashford, I have to give a mention to Rashford. I think he had a good performance and showed a good account of himself. For himself, obviously he'd like to probably play in that position a bit more, I think, where he gets a bit more freedom to play centrally. But nevertheless, he needs to be more consistent in his gameplay and going forward show that he's still a top player. A lot of people are doubting him. A lot of people have written him off. They're comparing him to Dele Alli in terms of saying that he has such a high ceiling, and he's going to be that person where he's going to be that forgotten person in like a year or two. I don't quite believe that. I think that's a bit premature. Whatever's happened to Dele Alli, that's another discussion for another episode. But Rashford, I think he still has a lot in the tank, so I expect him to do well this season. Liverpool, this was by a mile one of our worst performances for a very, very long time. As I mentioned on the top of the show, no fight, no desire. Absolutely below par. Very, very disappointing in how we played. I don't care about stats in terms of, oh, we had shots and all that. We didn't really trouble that goalkeeper at all. The goal itself, it was a good header. We hit the post and then, but we didn't really trouble Manchester United's defense, in my opinion. This will be a talking point, and I know if you follow Liverpool fans, you'll be like, oh, you keep banging about this, but we are in desperate need of a new midfielder. I know we have injuries, but that midfield is an aging midfield. It has no legs whatsoever. Yeah. If you follow me on social media, I did a TikTok video or reel, wherever you follow me, on Naby Keita. And some of my friends have said, a bit harsh into what I said. For me, he's a flop. And right now, he's shown some sort of indication that he's unhappy at the club. Best thing for us to do is part ways with him and replace him with someone else. Because at this stage, it looks like no players will come in unless someone leaves. So why not leave the club and let Liverpool do their thing right now? Because I don't know how he was supposed to start this game from what I heard last week. And he had an incident yesterday. I don't know what's happened to him in terms of, he's made of glass or Weetabix, or however you want to phrase it. But yeah, Liverpool need to strengthen. I think midfield is an area where I think if you look at the top six, I don't even think we have the strongest midfield, if I'm brutally honest. So definitely need to strengthen going forward. Just got a couple of comments here. One from Nate Daniels 42. I think us Liverpool fans need to realize this season will be more about top four and cups again. There is a long way to go, but we have many issues. Nate, I don't think you're wrong, to be honest with you. Yeah, it hurts to even think, oh, just go for top four and the cups. But unfortunately, it seems like it might be a reality because, yeah, I know it's premature, it's 3 games, I get it. But right now, we don't even look like we're going to even challenge for the title. It's just the way we're playing right now. I haven't seen it for a long time at Liverpool. And it's quite alarming in terms of how we're playing. Normally, it's if we're conceding goals, it's because we're defensively, we're not being compact enough or we're playing the high line. So those are things you can kind of work on in training. Up front, if you're not scoring goals, it can be worked on in training. Midfield, if you're not being creative enough, like you can start doing drills where you focus on your passing and moving and all that sort of stuff, and it comes together. But I have to say, throughout the whole 3 games that we played, the whole squad or the whole team is at fault into what we're doing right now. There's not a single player like, oh, he's responsible for why we're not doing well. For me, collectively, we've been awful. Defensively, we've been below par. We've lost shape. Robbo, I don't know what's happened to him, to be fair. He just looks a shadow of himself. I don't know if he's been overworked over the years and he's just lost that edge about him. I don't know. And then when Tsimikas comes on, I don't think he does enough to even warrant a starting place. But if I was Klopp, I think next game I might even start Tsimikas. Maybe Robbo needs a break. I don't know. Van Dijk, as I mentioned earlier on, looks off speed and doesn't look like he's I wouldn't say his old self, because for me last season he had a great season, but it wasn't the Van Dijk before that injury. And unfortunately, that's a reality now as well. I don't think we're going to see that invincible Van Dijk again. So yeah, it hurts to say that, but I think for me, he needs to go back to basics. And that's literally what Manchester United did today. They went back to basics and look what they produced. We're not showing that. We need to do that ourselves now. So United have been a laughing stock in terms of, losing to Brentford and Brighton. I said earlier on, for Liverpool, draws are like losses. So I've been taking these draws as losses. So I'm not getting happy about these sort of things. Or I'm like, oh, it's only a point here and there. 2 points out of 9. That's a joke. So yeah, I don't even know what to say. Gomez for me looked a bit shaky as well. Trent, yeah, below par. Everyone's targeting Trent in terms of how we're playing. So because we're deploying Elliott on the right side of midfield, maybe that's why teams are going through there a bit more easily. But then again, I want a player like Elliott in our midfield. You can't rely on Henderson and Milner to be the creative spark or to be the force from midfield where they get the goals for us and stuff. And I know a lot of Liverpool fans are saying Milner and Henderson shouldn't start. Agreed, they shouldn't start. But at this stage, I don't think Klopp has much choice. We should have better quality midfielders, in my opinion, and we haven't looked at it this summer. This will be our downfall again. If we had signed an additional centre midfielder, and I'm not asking for the top, the top of the crop. I'm not asking for Barella or Bellingham because these guys are going to cost big money. I want a box-to-box midfielder. That's what I want. We're linked with Moises Caicedo from Brighton. Decent player, don't get me wrong, but that's not the player I want. He's a DM. I'm not looking for a DM. We've got Fabinho and Henderson that can do that job. So that's not the type of player I want. I want a box-to-box. We were linked with Jacob Ramsey a few days ago. That's the type of player we need in our midfield. Will it happen? I don't think so. I don't think we'll sign a player until someone goes. And Kate is the one I'm looking at right now to leave, but he won't go. He's on a good salary. He's unhappy, but he's going to just play it off this year and then hopefully get a move because we're not getting interest from him. Let's be honest. We're not going to get 20, 30 million for him. We've already blown 52 million on him. So can't see any club coming and making a bid. So yeah, disappointed that is. Just a few comments here. Ravi Bikari, thank you for joining the show. We were poor. Bobby should have been the 10 and Carvalho should have been the 9. Yeah, I don't even know. I think Carvalho, I like the look of Carvalho. Don't get me wrong. For me, has that sort of Coutinho vibe about him, and I do like him, but I don't think he's quite ready to be starting for games, Liverpool games. He's quite lightweight for me. I think the last couple of games he's made cameos where he's played on the left-hand side, was getting shoved around quite a bit. In the middle, he's a bit more effective because of his technique and has a great turn on him as well. For me, he needs to be given time to get used to how we play, embed him slowly, and then let's see how it goes in the next few months. Right now, I don't think he's ready to start games. Ravi has also said, I would have dropped Trent and Robbo until the levels improved. They have dropped levels since the end of last season. I feel like that's the whole team right now. It seems like we're still hungover from last season, from that disappointment of losing the Champions League final. That's how it feels like to me. The summer off should have been the time where you just relax, enjoy your time off, come back pre-season, go firing. It hasn't been the case. For Trent, we've signed the understudy in Calvin Ramsey. He's injured, so obviously we can't even play him. Gomez might have been played in that right back position, but he needed to be utilized in centre back. We've got 2 injured right now. And Phillips played last week against Crystal Palace, and for me, he wasn't good enough either. So in that regards, it would have been difficult to drop both players. Costa should start over Robert at the moment. I said that earlier on. I think I would start Simicast next week just to give Robbo a bit of a break. Maybe have a different outlook on that left-hand side, because I mentioned this in the last week episode for the match preview. I just don't see Robertson and Diaz having any chemistry on that left-hand side. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, we're missing Mane. Look, legend of the club, don't get me wrong, but we've got to move on. Can't talk about players that don't play for the club anymore. That's a done deal. Like, he's gone now, so let's not talk about it. But in terms of Simicast and Diaz, maybe that's a partnership can work, where I think Robbo likes to bomb right to the end of the wing, and that kind of congests that area because that's where Diaz likes to attack. Whereas Simicast, he likes to run down the wing, but do deeper crosses. So tactically, both left backs need to work alongside Diaz and try and build some sort of partnership, because it's not working. Diaz is kind of just, whenever he's on the ball, he's on a one-man hunt where he's just trying to do everything on his own, and he's not really getting much help from his left back there. So yeah, Nate Daniels, another comment here. Klopp doesn't help Trent. He's allowing Trent to get exposed continuously. However, Trent has never developed defensively yet, which is frustrating. For me, I get what you mean, but I feel like it's it's one of those ones where we ask for more attacking players in midfield. I want Elliot in midfield, so you got to sacrifice it a little bit where that area will be exposed a little bit more. So Trent would need to have his sort of like head glued on and make sure he's not getting outrun. But yeah, he's getting exposed continuously. I feel like last season he did actually improve defensively, but he's just been off the speed. I think that's a general kind of analysis I've got from the team. They just don't look fit right now, which is very, very disappointing to see. Another comment from Ravi here. Matip at this moment in time is the best centre back out of him, Van Dijk, and I love Van Dijk. I'll agree with I think Matip was probably better than Van Dijk last season, and I've said that last season as well. Matip was fantastic, very underrated. I think the neutrals don't rate him, and I think even amongst the Liverpool fan base, might not get as much praise as he should. I think he's an amazing defender, and I think we're missing him right now, which is quite obvious. He brings calmness into that back four, and what I think alongside Van Dijk, I think definitely loves playing alongside Matip more than any of the defenders that we have. So, not sure how long his injury is, but hopefully he'll be available soon. Nate Daniels, I agree that Robert needs to sit on the bench for a while. Yeah, I would start from next week against Bournemouth for the next game. I think he should be put on the bench. I think some players have been burnt out. Yeah, I agree with that one. I think Robbo has been burnt out. I think Trent as well. That's why you're hoping signing Calvin Ramsey and having Simicast, we can rotate those guys a bit more. Unfortunately for Trent, we haven't had the luxury to do that right now. I think who else has been burnt out? Henderson, but for me, I feel like Henderson shouldn't be a starter going forward. I would like him to be a player from the bench where he can come on, play as a six or play as a number 8 on occasions. That was why I was very vocal in the summer where I wanted to sign a box-to-box midfielder and not a DM, because for me, Henderson should be that number 6 understudy or backup for Fabinho. And Fabinho has been below par. I can't. The only players for me that have looked relatively okay or have done well is Diaz, Elliott, and I'd say Salah. Salah hasn't really shown his game as much, but he's still scoring. So, but for me, Diaz has got to do a bit more in terms of attacking positions. I feel like he has so much ability. He should be on the score sheet a lot more. Elliot, for me, he's growing the more games he plays. So long may it continue in terms of his development. Nate Daniels, a change to back three at the back might help us. It will allow Trent to run the game and be overly concerned with defending. Yeah, I see your point, but I don't like this whole back three formation. Call me old school, but I like a back four, 2 centre backs, and have your fullbacks bombing forward. To be fair, we're out of centre backs right now. I think we've got 2 or 3 injuries, so we're not blessed in that department right now either. Ravi with another comment. I've said it for a long time. Hendo Milner shouldn't start. I know we don't have any options at the moment, but when we do, they shouldn't start. So I had to laugh midway there. You're right. I don't think none of us fans want to see Hendo and Milner together on the pitch unless it's for the Carabao Cup, because as great, ambassadors they are for the club, Milner's aging. Henderson has lost that sort of speed or that engine, I would say, since last season. And you can see that the players are deteriorating right now as well. So for me, they don't offer much together. Milner shouldn't really be playing right now. I think he's only playing due to injuries. He was supposed to be more of a bit part player. So you were expected Hendo to be there, and you got Thiago. And another thing about Thiago, I love Thiago. If you've watched me over the past whatever months, years I've been doing this podcast stuff, he's been one of my favorite players for a long time. But we can't rely on him. That's the ultimate truth. A player that's injury prone, you can't build your team around a player like that. For me, he's got to be regarded as that luxury player where if he's there, we're going to do great. If he's not, we got to have players that are ready to come in and do a shift for us. And it's not just about hardworking midfielders. I want a type of player who's box to box, or if that type of player is not available, because something I was looking into the other day, box to box midfielder for me has become a bit of a rare commodity now, because you don't really see those type of players anymore. You've got players nowadays who are more, you're either regarded as a defensive midfielder or an attacking midfielder. The CM is a bit of a grey area, because you don't get box to box players. If you're a centre mid, you're normally the one breaking up play and just feeding passes around the ball. But you're not like a Steven Gerrard. The only player that's box to box that's elite is De Bruyne, and there aren't many players like him around. So I think Bellingham is someone that we will have high hopes with, that he could be that guy if we were to sign him. But yeah, that's us playing FIFA career mode now. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Brush, thank you for joining the show. Bombs emojis, yeah. It's one of those evenings, unfortunately. Ravi, we have no one, so starting with Cavalli would be a better option. Yeah, I get your point. We don't have a lot of options, but I don't want to hamper the kid's development or his confidence right now, because we're pretty much throwing him in the deep end. And for me, that's not the right way to go. That's not acceptable. But yeah, if it might be a thing where he starts the next game, because we literally don't have a lot of options. So I know before today, people thinking Firmino wasn't going to start. So how would our front three would have been if Firmino wasn't available? It's a tricky one. I probably would have played Diaz up top and then Carvalho on the left and then Salah on the right. I like Harvey Elliott in the midfield, so I wouldn't put him in the front three just yet, but he would be another option. I would say ahead of Elliott to play in the front three, even if he's asked to play on the left-hand side, which is not his familiar role, despite him being left-footed. So be it. It's one of those ones where we don't have a lot of options at this stage. Another comment from Nate Daniels. Diaz needs to go to the gym. He's in the Premier League now. It would be much better if he was stronger. A lot of time, our front three can't keep the ball. I think Diaz will take time to get used to that physicality. I do feel like when I've seen him play, he shows that aggression. Like he can keep up in terms of having those challenges against him. But yeah, obviously, I think in due time he will probably bulk up a bit more. Once he gets a bit more accustomed to how we play, I think he'll be a bit more clever in terms of running off the ball more so, because I feel like he'll get the ball and he'll be a bit flat-footed and he'll normally get tackled from behind or loses the ball. So at the minute, I feel like there's still lack of understanding in terms of his overall gameplay amongst players around him. But yeah, gym would help. I think it's the same for Carvalho. Carvalho, don't want to be harsh on him. He's a young kid that's just joined the club, but he'll need to bulk up a little bit more and get used to the physicality of the Premier League. Ravi, until Liverpool realise we have issues in our squad and no real depth, we'll continue to be below standard. That's the nail on the head. Unfortunately, that's the truth. I think we have the numbers in terms of depth. And when I was reviewing the squad in the summer, I was quite happy in terms of the players we had. But I feel like we were just missing a centre midfielder. And me being a bit more greedy, I think another attacker to play as an understudy for Salah. Those two areas, if we had them right now, addition to what we have, we'd be a complete squad right now, in my opinion. But I feel like with FSG, it's like too much. We're asking for too much right now, which for me is not the case. I'm not asking for the best players, the 80 million, the 100 million players each to come in right now. So much talent out there. And even in the Premier, you can notch up a few players that can fill in those gaps. So yeah, it can be frustrating being a Liverpool fan, but we need to sign someone. And we definitely need a centre midfielder. If you got any names, shout them out to me in terms of who would you like to see come in. I've got a few in mind, but it doesn't look like we'll be signing anyone, to be fair. Zain Hanif, thank you for joining the show, Zain. I think we need one win just to boost our confidence. I agree. I think because I'm just come off from watching the game, the reaction might be a bit more blunt and direct. But you're right. I think once we get that win, it will give us that boost in confidence. And we're probably the only team alongside Man City that are capable of going on a run. So it's only a matter of time that we actually do go produce that good performance. Do you know what? It doesn't even have to be a good performance. Just get the win, and I'm sure the confidence will build within the squad. And it's only a matter of time. We're not going to be like this all season. Trust me, we're not that bad. It's just that maybe we've had a poor preseason where we've not played as many games. I think normally we have more fixtures in preseason, so our fitness would be a lot better. And it just hasn't been the case due to the World Cup, where everything's a bit more congested now. So, not making excuses. They probably think I'm some sort of Klopp rant right now, where I'm making a lot of excuses, but the writing's on the wall. Facts are facts, you know. Another comment I was meant to say, I like both Matip and Van Dijk. Yeah, I like both of them as a pairing, but unfortunately, Matip isn't available right now. Zayn Hanif, James Milner needs to be a coach. He was the worst out of the bad bunch, and Harvey Elliott was the best out of a bad batch. Yeah, I totally agree, mate. Yeah, Milner was awful. I think his highlight was just shouting at Van Dijk, and that's not a good highlight to have if you're on the field right now. But yeah, very disappointing performance from him. And Harvey Elliott for me has been that only shining light right now in the Liverpool team, and Diaz to an extent as well. So yeah, hopefully he gets more game time this season. Ravi, agree. Heno should not be starting, but him as a 6 is more effective than him being an 8 for me. Totally agree. I've been saying this for a long time. I want to see Hendo as a 6, which is why I've been saying for a long time Liverpool need to buy a new number 8 that is a box-to-box midfielder. That's the type of profile I think we need to sign going forward. We've been linked with a lot of DMs. Who have been linked with? So Sander Berg, who plays for Sheffield United, he's been linked with us. Another injury-prone midfielder. Not the guy I want, but people on Twitter are saying, yeah, let's go for him. Moses Casido, who plays for Brighton, another DM. Can play as an 8, but is not his natural game. Another player people are raving over on Twitter. Jacob Ramsey, that's the player I want right now because I don't think Bellingham is available. And on Twitter, I've been getting messages saying that, oh, you don't know your ball. Trust me, I know my ball. That's why I do this podcast. But if we get Casido, for me, I feel like if we do sign that type of player, it's basically a long-term successor for Keita because Keita doesn't have a future in this club whatsoever. I'm not listening to all of these reports saying that, oh, we're going to sign him on a 4-year contract. Can you imagine signing him on a 4-year contract? That's just blowing money out the window for no reason. He just got injured. Apparently, he fell down today or yesterday, whenever it was, and just got injured, apparently, according to what Klopp said earlier on. It's a joke. He shouldn't be in the squad. I would sell him if I was the management right now. Another comment from Ravi. Our squad is a lot older, so that's why we need to bring in fresh legs and mix it up. 100%. Our midfield is an aging midfield. Hendo is about 30 years old. Milner is about same age as Ronaldo, isn't he? 37, 38. Who else we got? Ox is 28, I believe. You've got Keita, I believe, is 27 as well. Thiago is about 31, I think, now. So, yeah, the average kind of age around is 28, 29, 30s, which is quite an aging one. I know we've got young players coming through. You've got Jones. You've got Harvey Elliott. But Harvey Elliott's natural position was to be a winger. But for me, I'd rather have him in the midfield. Cavalli as well, I don't think he's quite ready to play in midfield. But another young prospect going forward. The player we've got in our youth ranks, who had a good one, is it Bakcevic? I think how you pronounce his name. He had a good preseason, but he's a youngster, so I would regard him as a first-team player right now. But yeah, we do have an aging squad. Like I was very vocal in asking, well, not asking, but in saying that I'd like Matheus Nunes to sign for Liverpool because I saw him last season, not a lot, but I feel like once you watch a lot of football, you can watch a guy for a few games and know if he's a good player or not. If you don't, then probably watching the wrong sport. But in terms of my decent player, and he looked really good for Wolves against Tottenham the other day. So for me, that's a missed opportunity there. Yeah, there's not many players out there that play that sort of role, that box to box. Jacob Ramsey, for me, I've treated him as the one to look out for this season. I think if he stays for Villa, I think he'll have a great season and might be a contender for Young Player of the Year. That's my bold prediction for him. So if we were able to get him now, then yeah, that'd be amazing. But at this stage, everything feels like wishful thinking when it comes to transfer. Shouldn't be the case. You got teams like Nottingham Forest blowing money on 44 million players, and we can't even sign an average player. We can't even get Tielemans. You know, it's not someone I would want, but 20 million, just get him. We need extra players in our team. Ravi, we can't paper over cracks, man. You don't like that. Yeah, it's true. It's true. He agrees with me there. There are hidden gems to be had. Yeah, there's a lot of players. You know, I don't have the time to be scouting all of these youngsters, but I feel like if I was hired as a scout, I could give you a list of all these players that are available. So many names out there. I don't even know where to begin. Coming from Ravi, we need to stop being Hospital FC. You know what I mean with signing injury prone players. Yeah, that's the thing. Like last few days, fans are saying, "Oh, Sanderberg would be great. He's injury prone." Casido had a good season last year, but he hasn't played a lot of games in the Premier League. So for me, he's still a bit raw and untested. How would he play in a Liverpool team? Would he be able to cope with the pressure of playing for a big club? That's a big question mark there as well. And Jacob Ramsey is for me the one that we should look into, but who knows? It is what it is, I guess. But what I'll do just to wrap up the show, I'll do my player ratings for Liverpool. You know, this is a Liverpool show, so let me just give you guys my rating. So, Alisson, I'd probably give him 5 out of 10. He didn't do awfully wrong, but the thing is, due to the loss, can't give him a very high rating. He made a good save. I think he was in the second half when Rashford had a shot and he saved it just past the post. I think that's one of his good moments. And the free kick from Ericsson as well. I think that was a good save. So I give him 5 out of 10 there. Trent, I've got to be nice. I'm going to give him, maybe I'm not being nice. I'm going to give him a 3. 3 out of 10. I think he was awful today. Didn't show much for me. Defensively, poor. Even offensively, I don't think he did well today either. So for me, I'll give him a 3. Gomez, I'll give him a 5. I think that might be a little bit generous, but I don't feel like he did that badly. Had moments where he seemed a bit out of position, but in general terms, I think he did okay. Van Dijk, probably give him a 4. I don't think he had a good game today. Robbo, 4 as well. Wasn't impressed in terms of how he played. I don't remember him crossing the ball. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think he was offensive today at all. And if it was probably from a set piece, as in a corner. But an open play, I don't think he did that much for us. And yeah, his passing range has been a bit weird as well in terms of like just keeps on doing the predictable pass it to Diaz. Needs to show a bit more variation in his play. I think he's been too predictable right now. Hendo, I'll give him a 4 as well. I don't think he played that well. Elliot, for me, did fantastic. Well, out of a bad batch, like Zayn said earlier on. I'm giving Elliot a 6. Milner, 4. I think that's probably a nice score. That's probably a general score there. But yeah, didn't have a great game. Salah, give him a 6. I don't think he was attacking continuously or was a constant threat throughout the game. The goal helps with the ranking in terms of what I'm doing right now. But I think he was the only one that looked like scoring. Diaz, for me, unless he's not doing anything spectacular, doesn't look like he's clinical enough right now. Firmino wasn't playing false 9 today. He was playing false 6. He was too deep today. I don't know what he was doing in the defensive half of the Liverpool team. So for me, he just wasn't anywhere around the box. So he's not going to really score any goals. So yeah, Salah was the only one that you'd think, oh, he might get at the end of something, and it wasn't enough. He didn't do it enough, in my opinion. For me, now, give him a 4 out of 10. Wouldn't give him a higher score than that. Diaz will give 5. I think first half he showed moments where a bit of aggression, a bit of sort of tenacity in his play. But I think second half he kind of got phased out a bit. Didn't really do much on the ball. Substitutes, bit hard to rank them because I don't feel like they had enough time to make an impression. But Fabinho, I'll give 4. I think his passing, even he looked a bit nervous on the ball. His passing wasn't clean cut, so I wasn't very impressed with him. Simicast 5, and I've given Carvalho 5. They didn't really do much. I think Carvalho had moments where he had 1 or 2 dribbles, had a shot on target, so a bit more. Simicast probably give him a 4 actually. Let me let me change that score. Give him a 4. I don't think he did anything at all. Carvalho was a bit more positive where he was actually trying to make things happen. Simicast was pretty much non-existent. I actually don't remember Simicast doing much at all. I just remember him giving someone a high five, I think it was Pep Linders, and coming on the pitch. But after that, I have no recollection of what he did. So it is what it is. But a few more comments here from Ravi. I'm not making excuses. We were bad, but in derby games, does form go out the window? It does to an extent, because this was a derby game for United, and look how they performed. They were awful against Brighton and Leicester. So we should have been well up for it, just like United were. But we played the worst today. Last week, I thought we were all right, but not great. But today, we were even worse. And we had more of an initiative to actually show a better account of ourselves because it's against a rival. You as players, you don't need more motivation against Manchester United. As a Liverpool player, it's written on the wall. You need to be fired up for that game. You don't have to be from Liverpool to understand that. Once you're at a club like Liverpool, you know the rivalry between us and Manchester United. So, yeah, that's a given. We should have done a lot better. Question: how do we bounce back against Bournemouth? Good question. Firstly, go back to basics because we're not doing it. Go back to basics. Kind of just shrug off the games that we've played right now. It's in the past now. Got to move forward. I think, as I mentioned earlier, I would give Robbo a rest. I'd play Simicast just to give a different sort of light in that left-hand side. Some people are saying drop Trent. I wouldn't drop Trent. I think he needs to be given more rhythm to kind of boost that confidence in himself. Van Dijk Gomez will be the pairing that I would still go for. Midfield. Oh, God. Who do we have in midfield? Do you know what might be interesting? I don't know if it will happen. It might be worth switching to a 4-2-3-1 formation against Bournemouth. That's what I would do. Let me switch, because tactically it's not a huge difference, but in sort of the attacking end, it just changes the perspective of how players are set up. So I'd go for Fabinho and Henderson, and then play Elliot a bit more up top. It's a tricky one because Firmino for me was really disappointing today, but he's the only available striker we have. So 4-2-3-1 might change, unfortunately. Maybe play Carvalho as a 10, but I wouldn't start Carvalho. I'd probably play Elliot as a 10. If it's not working, then obviously ask Elliot to drop deeper and then it can form into a 4-3-3 traditional formation. But maybe give Elliot more of a run, more of a freedom to run around and make things happen. Because at the minute, I think because he's on the right hand side, he's drifting too much towards the wing. Maybe playing as a central position as a 10, he might be a bit more effective. So play Elliot as a 10, and then Diaz, Salah, and Banoches. I have to put Firmino up there because I wouldn't start Carvalho up top. But I think Firmino's the only one out there right now, so it's not looking good. Just look how it was last season. We had Minamino, Origi. We had like 7 strikers last year, and yeah, it's not the case this year. But that's another discussion for another day. How long is Jota out for? From what I've heard, I think he's still a few few weeks more. I don't think he's any close to full fitness. So I would say he'll probably be back in full training 2 to 3 weeks, and then I think it'll be about a month. But don't quote me on that. That's what that's what I think that's what I've gathered, because it's been one of those injuries where they haven't really given a specific time, but because he's been out for a while, from my understanding, I think he might be available next month, but who knows? Carvalho came on too late. I would have subbed him on at 60 minutes. Yeah, I get it. I think maybe more game time, but I think he's just trying to slowly embed him into the team. I don't think he wants to rush him too quickly at this stage of his Liverpool career. I think around that 60th minute, we were actually picking it up a little bit more possession-wise, not on the attacking front. So maybe we thought we'll be able to get the goal, which we did, but for me, it was too little, too late at that time. Ravi said we didn't show much fight. 100% agree. Knowing who we were playing, yeah, we don't need motivation to play United. Like, we're fans, and we can feel that. So as players, they don't need that motivation. They don't need that speech from the gaffer. It should be self-motivated. You should know what to do when you get on that pitch. Yeah, I agree. Do the simple things well. Yep. Simple. Keep it simple now. Run around. That's what I would say. Run around. Like, it's the same advice that I said in the show match preview last week to a United fan. It's got to run around a bit more, because Brentford showed them in that game when they beat them 4-0. They were outrun by them. So it's not just about running headlessly. It's actually putting in more effort in your work. And yeah, we're not doing that. We're very lethargic in terms of how we play. It's so weird to describe. I think I've never seen a Liverpool team like this under Klopp. It's so weird. So yeah, very, very disappointing in terms of how we're playing right now. Can Salah play in the middle? Would that be effective? It's an option, to be fair. I remember he had that phase. I think it was 18, 19? No, it wasn't 18. I think like 2-3 years ago, he had that phase where he was deployed a bit more centrally. But I didn't like him in that central position. I feel like we lost a bit on the right-hand side. We didn't have a good enough player. You know, if, like I said earlier on, if we had a understudy or backup right winger for Salah, then this is the time we could put Salah in the middle and let that player come in. Like, let me just throw a name out there. So he's not an exotic name for many fans, but Bowen. I'd love to have Bowen in our team right now. If you had him come in, put him on the right, put Salah in the middle, it could work. So obviously his fee might be a bit higher due to English tax, but you know, that's the kind of player. He doesn't need to be an elite player, but a good player where he's at a good level, and playing at Liverpool, he can kind of climb up that level going forward. So yeah, it's a sticky one, to say the least. Rich and Ponsa, bro, is peak. Tell me about it. Rich, thanks for joining the show. He is on Eagle Eyed Football. So, guys, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Good guys on there. And Eagle Eye channel have also commented Van Dijk and Trent. Oh, mate. What do I even say about these guys? Yeah, I think I've been speaking about an hour just talking non-stop about them. But yeah, they were awful. Awful. And it hurts to say that about Van Dijk, especially because for me, he's the best in the world. But this opening 3 games, he's been below par. And I have to be honest, I can't just sugarcoat things. I have to be really honest. He's been off the pace. His reading of the game has been far-fetched. His positioning sense is weird as well. Like, he's kind of lost. He doesn't quite know what he's doing. And he wasn't really effective on the ball. He wasn't really doing those diagonal pings that he normally likes to do during games. So, low in confidence, possibly. But overall, I think the team is at that stage right now where no one's really doing much to kind of spark something in our attacking play. So, yeah. Ravi, Rich, yo, big up. Liverpool, we didn't turn up and we cost ourselves the way we played. Yeah, we certainly did. It's a strange one in terms of how we played. I was expecting so much more from Liverpool. I was expecting us to be more tenacious, show more intensity in our play. I know with the United fans right now, I think with the protests and all that sort of stuff, they were already fired up for this game. They've already, despite signing a 60 million midfielder, they're still not happy. So they were really fired up. They were really looking like it's against Liverpool, one of our biggest rivals. Let's make something out today, because last season lost 4-0, lost 5-0. It was peak. They didn't want to play Liverpool again, so they wanted to make things right. But for Liverpool, yeah, it's a tricky one, to say the least. Eli Football, big up Ravi. Maybe Klopp has forgotten to renew the asthma pump prescription. Might be the case. Who knows? Who knows? Ravi, do you think the players are getting trained too hard in training, and it's taking its toll going into games? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't feel like our training methods hasn't changed drastically. Klopp and Pep Linders have been managing the club Pep has been there for, I think, a couple of years in this position right now. But the players are accustomed to how Klopp trains. I don't think we're doing anything different to what we normally do. Players might have something else to say, because their manager made them run around rings and they were all exhausted in their training camp. So they have another way to get used to in terms of training methods from their new coach. Klopp has been our manager for a long time. So I think maybe preseason we didn't play enough games, lack of games, because I remember when we played the Community Shield, we had a behind the closed door game against Villa the next day. So I don't think Klopp was satisfied in terms of our preseason schedule. I think he wanted more games to be played so we can really up our fitness. And right now, that is quite evident. We're not quite fit. We don't seem like we're playing with high intensity that we're known to be when we play our games. So yeah. LOL, Rich, he needs to call his GPS for that. Yeah, he does, trust me. So, yeah, disappointing. Disappointing result, to say the least, but here's what it is. Next one to look forward to is Bournemouth. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. But that's a wrap up for today. So, thank you to everyone for tuning in. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I will be doing another episode tomorrow where I will be doing a match week 3 review. I won't be speaking about this game in too much detail, because then I'm going to do another hour episode, which probably don't want to do. But yeah, so I'll be covering all the games, including the surprise result where Leeds United beat Chelsea 3-0. So look out for that. If you haven't already followed me on social, Ozzie FTP on Twitter and Ozzie.ftp on Instagram. It's got a few more comments here. Ravi, Liverpool, we do love drama. My gosh, hopefully we bounce back. Yeah, we do love drama. But yeah, fingers crossed we can change our fortune going forward. Madison, thank you for joining the show. I don't think Liverpool can go forward without adding at least one midfielder. I understand the injuries, but there's a lot of football still to play. I don't know if the midfield will hold up. You're 100% right. Right now, our midfield is not holding up, and we're playing a 37-year-old when he shouldn't be playing week in, week out. So some might say we need 2 midfielders, and then I wouldn't even laugh at them. I'd probably agree with them. But the way our club operates, we've got to be realistic. Just to even get one more additional player this window would be jubilation for us Liverpool fans, because we're not expected to. And that is unfortunately the truth right now. So yeah, Ravi, safe, big up. Thank you guys. So Ravi, Madison, Rich, Zane, and Brush, and Nate Daniels. Thank you guys for getting involved, sending in your comments. Much appreciated. Definitely loved your questions and comments coming through. Made the show a bit more long tailed. I just wanted to do a quick review and run away, to be fair. But thank you guys for contributing. So yeah, I shall see you guys tomorrow. So take care, stay safe, and I hope to see you all very soon. Good night.